Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 47 of the In the 11 podcast, hosted by myself, Brendan Griffiths. This is the podcast where we bring on people from all around the footballing world to show you what it takes to be in the 11. This week is no different. We have another absolutely class interview for you. Chase Boone is joining the 11 for this week, and it's absolutely a legendary interview. I don't even want to spoil anything right here at the top. The only thing that is not legendary about it is at certain points we had a little bit of connectivity issues, if you will. So there may be some points where some things get chopped up a little bit or we lose connection for some of the content. So I hope that it still is able to be put all together into a nice little bow for all you guys, and you're able to get a lot of value from it because he's got some incredible stories from his time overseas and here, and just a lot of good things packed into this episode. So I apologize for any issues with the connection. I am definitely working on trying to figure out solutions to make it the best episode possible each time I put one out for you guys. So hopefully you still enjoy it. As I mentioned last episode, I'll say it again at the end of this. I'll remind you, if you could go on and join the Patreon for the In the 11 page using the link down below, it'd be greatly appreciated. Don't do it now, though, because I want you to listen to Chase. And without further ado, here's that interview. All right, everyone. Popping into the 11 this week with us is Chase Boone, coming off of a season in San Diego in the USL Championship. So congratulations on that. Super excited to hear your story, as we just spoke about there for a second. It's one that should have some interesting twists and turns along the way as we dive into it here. So I can't wait to get into it. But thank you for taking a little time out of your day to
thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it.
Of course. Look forward to it. Why don't we start at the beginning a little bit? So, born in Oregon, and I think, some players that I've talked to and other players who have played now at the level that you have, they have the pedigree of going to the huge Division I college, or, maybe they play academy or that kind of road is where it leads them to the professional game. But you have a little bit of a different story.
Yeah, for sure, man. So I grew up just playing normal clubs. So I feel like I was the last, my class was the last to actually play club soccer, because the academy in Portland came when I was a junior, senior, and all my club team, I would say starting 11 probably went over there. And so the last year of club, it was just kind of a ragtag group. But I stayed back because I wanted to play high school, and you couldn't do that in Oregon. You couldn't play high school in club or high school in academy. And I just transferred high schools. So I was like, all right, I got to play for them. That's the main reason why I went there. But yeah, man, so I grew up playing for Westside Metros. It was a big club in Oregon. I think we won 8 out of the 9 state championships. Our team was pretty stacked. We had quite a bit of pros came from that team, actually. I think 4 or 5.
Wow.
And we stayed together since we were 10 all the way through until about junior year of high school, which is pretty special group. Still some of my best friends today. I don't know if you know Rubio Rubin, but he was on that team since we were 10. Plays at Salt Lake.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you that at some point along the way, because I've seen some connections with you guys, via social media and whatnot. And obviously, he's had a super great career. So
yeah, he's had an interesting career as well. But I literally just got off the phone with him. He was FaceTiming. We usually FaceTime every morning on the way to training. We'll be both going to training. We just kind of talk. But yeah, man, it was cool playing for that team. I wasn't starting. I didn't start until my junior year of high school for that team. And I was playing all different positions. But I was super underdeveloped. I was always super undersized. It was tough for me to get minutes. But it was great because I was just around these guys who were just at an elite level. I think when we were about from 8th grade to sophomore year, we had 4 guys on the national team, in the national pool. And then they were our front 3 and then our number 10. And so our team was it was star-studded, to be fair. I think half the team went Division I, right away. But it's been
so being in a team like that. Sorry. Being in a team like that, was that kind of the first taste for you of being all right, I want to try and do this at a high level? I have all these guys. Because I always feel like that's a common denominator, with guys being around other players who have pro aspirations, D1
Yeah,
aspirations, like
well,
that kind of sparks it.
for sure, man. I mean, 100%. Like ever since the get go, like I was like, okay, like I want this. Like I want to be on the national team. I want to do this. I want to be in regional team, like ODP, all this. And then when we were about 14, 15, Rubio got invited to go to residency in Florida. And so he moved his freshman year of high school and went to live in Florida in residency, IMG, whatever. And after he came back, he was just a different player. Like Rubio was always the best player on the team, you know? But when he went to IMG and came back for like maybe 6 months later, he was just completely different class. And like I remember that like time I was like, all right, like I really want this. Like I want to be like that because he's already getting like talked about like offers in MLS and everything overseas. I was like, all right, like now it's time to like hit the grindstone. Like I want to do that. So he's been a big motivation for me, to be completely honest. And then when we were 17, he signed his first contract and moved to Holland. And I was like, oh, like hell yeah, like I want to go to Europe too. And so that's just kind of always been like the back of my mind's like, all right, like Rubio could do it, like I could do it. So I've just been like slowly plugging away. Yeah. So that's definitely where I first got my like taste and like aspiration to play pro.
Yeah. So in seeing him kind of carve that path, like what was it for you? What did it look like? Because obviously you went the college route where he was able to go to Europe, so you always had like
Yeah.
that motivation of chasing someone. But
Hmm.
obviously, as we know and as you've talked to hundreds of players, like everyone has to find their own way within the game. It can't be like
Yeah,
he did it
for
this way, so
sure.
I'm going to do it exactly like that.
Yeah, no, I mean, so after Rubes signed, everybody else, like all my close friends, were all going like Division 1, and I was like, damn, like that's what I want. Like I want to play Division 1. Like that was always my like in my mind. I was like, all right, I'll play D1 and then I'll go pro after that. And my junior year, when
Mm-hmm.
everybody's getting like offers and scholarships, like nothing came my way, not one, like no interest, nothing. I remember my best friend Christo went to Gonzaga, and the Gonzaga coach was coming down to watch our state final. And Crystal like told him about me, and I emailed him, and he said he was going to be there. And I was like, all right, perfect. Like now's my chance. Like I gotta play well. I had a hat trick and 2 assists, and we won 5-3.
Wow.
And I didn't hear from him. And I was like, wow. Like, and he did. I remember he called me like a week later and was like, you know what? Like you had a good game, but like you're really undersized. You're really slow. Like I just don't think you'd fit in. And I was like, damn. I was like, all right. I was like, I did everything I could like for my like self at the game. And I was like, it's just not written in the stars for me. Like I'm gonna have to go somewhere where I'm gonna play a lot and like develop like physically.
Mm.
And then I was down at Surf Cup, and this Redlands, University of Redlands, was the only team that came up and talked to me after. And I was like, all right, like they're notorious. Like I don't know if you know anything about University of Redlands. They're a small Division 3 school right outside of about 30 miles outside of LA, and
Mm-hmm.
they've actually produced several pros. Yeah, so like within the last, I would say like 8 years, I think 4 pros, like 3 in the MLS, and then 1 in the USL, 1 overseas. So it's like pretty solid, and our coach is very well connected. Coached for the national team for a bit, like as an assistant, LA Galaxy. So that was like a big draw to me. I was
Mm-hmm.
like, all right, if I do well here, like he'll get me something. And yeah, I went. I fell in love with the campus, and I was like, all right, like this is where I'm gonna go. And it was it was definitely a gut check for sure, just because all my best friends were going D1 and I was going D3. I was like, like it stung the ego a little bit. I'm not gonna lie to you,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
but it worked out for me because after freshman year, like I was starting. I started basically every game freshman year, and I was just getting minutes. And even though it wasn't like at like a super high level, I was still getting this time on the ball and just in game because like training and games are so much different. You need games to develop and everything. So that's what I tell everybody now who I train a lot of kids in the off season. If they're, still
Mm-hmm.
developing, like, yeah, go D3. You could always transfer if you have a great season. Like it's all about playing time for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, you almost took the question right out of my mouth. I was going to say to a player who is coming up and kind of in a similar situation
Yeah.
to you, where maybe they have the Division 1 coaches coming, but they're saying, "Hey, I don't think you're for this level." Or,
Yeah. No, I mean,
even the flip side of that is like coming into this level and not being able to play for your first 2 years, because that's a lot of times what Division 1 coaches will say. It's like, yeah, you might play by the time you're a junior or senior, like how do you kind of convey that to a young player who just thinks, well, it's Division 1 or bust?
yeah, that's the thing. Like a lot of players these days think that, I don't know if it's like the ego or if it's just like, that status of Division 1, but But there's plenty of ways to get around that and get to the pros. Like I've been saying, like it's all personal like work also, like just because you go D1 doesn't mean you'll go pro. Like I think a lot of people think that too.
Hmm.
And I mean it's your work ethic and everything that comes with it. And I think sometimes even the players who are going at like smaller Division 1s or D2s, D3s have like little something, like a little chip on their shoulder because they feel like they have a little more something to prove. So I honestly, I like
Yeah.
every
And
time
then
I
you,
talk to a young player, I just tell them to go where they're going to play.
yeah. Because then you went on to have a career at Redlands where, like you said, you were playing right from the jump.
Yeah.
You had a career that had a lot of stats based around it. There's awards, there's
Mhm.
accolades. You're starting to build up a
Yeah.
name for yourself. So I
Yeah,
almost
for
kind of
sure.
wonder, it's like, yeah, you can go to the big program, but if you can't really make a name for yourself and stand out, is it worth it in the same way?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, yeah, I totally get that. Like it is it was good to make a name for myself for sure and like it felt good. But as I came a senior, I remember right after college, I was trying to get like trials and stuff. And as soon as I'd go
Mm,
to these trials and I'd say, "Oh, I'm from like Redlands D3," I was brushed off like immediately, immediately. So I was like, all right, so maybe like I think if you do have that D1 title, or like it does help in some sort of facet. But yeah, man, I don't know. I went to a lot of trials, man. I've been to I think 9, and I got cut from all 9 until I signed my first contract. So it could be a long
yeah.
road, no matter your
Yeah, it
accolades.
it definitely can. I think
Yeah.
anyone who is trying to do this, I would say, don't go in, never go into your first trial thinking that that one's going to lead into a
No,
contract. And I don't want to
definitely
say that in
not.
like a negative way, but it's just the
No,
times that that happens for a player is like so
oh,
rare.
it was me. I totally thought that. I was like, if I get one trial, I'm good. I'll make it. 3 later, I was like, all right, maybe not. Yeah, it's a long
Well,
road for
because
sure.
it's kind of like yeah, it's kind of like you said about the Gonzaga coach. It's like, you can go out and have an
Oh
absolute
yeah.
worldie of a performance, but
Hmm.
it might not even matter. Like I've heard
No,
so
that's
many
the thing.
stories of players that go to trials and are like, they do fantastic, and then the coach is like, yeah, we're actually not looking for a striker. So like, I
Yeah,
know that you're great, but
exactly.
we don't need a striker.
What was pretty funny is honestly my very first trial. I uh I went, so actually it wasn't my first one. So I went to a couple different ones, but then I was like, all right, like I have nothing. Like it's almost the end of the summer, not end of summer, it's like February. I was like, I don't know what like I'm doing. My dad's like, like my dad's like typical American, like never played soccer in his life, doesn't really know the ins and outs. He goes, oh, like I read something about this like open tryout, like you should just go. I was like, Dad, I was like, open tryouts are like really tough, and there's like, they're not. It's like kind of just like a money grab. It seems like. And he's like, oh, like let's just try. I'll put it up to cash. I'm like, all right, dude, I'll go. So I went to Orange County, the open trial, and I showed up and there was like 350 people. I was like, all right, like first off, like half these guys like can't kick a ball, like it's gonna be tough. And you play like 4 games in 3 days, and
Yeah,
so I'm like, fuck, like all right. So obviously I went out for striker, and I was like, I'll put some goals in, maybe get like a look. And I get pulled after 15 minutes because I was just trying to do way too much because my team wasn't the best. So I'm sitting on the bench, and like our coach, whoever it is, I'm just sitting there. Our center back goes down with an injury, and he looks to the bench. He's like, "Yo, do any of you guys play center back?" And I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "I'll play," and because I just wanted to be on the field, and so like I was pissed off, so I went and played center back. The rest of the 4 games, my team didn't get scored on. My center back partner and I got invited to go on like an extended trial with the Orange County like a USL team. So for the
hmm.
next 3 weeks, we were just with them training. It was pretty sweet. We were the only 2 out of the entire open trial, but I was playing center back the whole time. And I play striker. So like I kept telling the coach, I'm like, hey, like I play striker, right? And he's like, yeah, 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 good one. Like he thought it was just like banter. I was like, nah, I'm serious. But
So your
they
whole first trial, or one of your first
yeah,
trials, was
like
as a
my first
center
like
back.
official trial, I was literally just playing center back. Yeah, it was so funny. It was super funny, but yeah. I mean, but I didn't really care honestly. I was like, all right, if I'm a center back from now on, I'll play center back. I was like, I just want to play. But it was a great
Yeah.
experience, man. It was really cool. Yeah.
So, how connect the dots for me of kind of your trialing process, and then I know you went over to England as well and did
Yeah.
a master's degree for a bit and was playing over there. So,
Yep.
kind of where,
Yeah.
like, put the
So
pieces of the puzzle together
yeah,
for me.
for sure. So after I graduated from Redlands, I've been through about 4 trials, And I was like, all right, like if nothing's coming right now, I was like, I'm kind of out of options. Like the season's going for the USL. Like it's gonna be tough to come as a rookie like
Yeah.
mid-season. So my dad was like, my
Mhm.
dad is doing some researching. He was like, hey, there's this program in England called like Raisa. Like you could get your master's and you could play for like a local academy team. And I was like, I don't know if I really want to do that, man. Like I don't know the level, yada yada yada. And then he's like, Chase, look, like you got no other options. Might as well get your master's over there. It's like half the time and like way cheaper, like in England. And I was like, all right, like
Yeah.
I'll give it a go. So I went over there and I was there for 9 months. Like my schooling was 9 months, but I was about there for a year. And yeah, it actually turned out to be great, man. Like the academy was like 100 kids, but there was like this like showcase team, and that team would go around and play like Blackburn under 23, like up go to Scotland, play like Hibernian under 23. So like you were getting like good competition. I remember my first game
Mhm.
we played Blackburn under 23, we got rolled like 7-0. And I was like, holy crap. Like it was, and I was like, all right, it's a different level over here. Like these guys were like on the verge of breaking into like, the first team. And they were
Yeah,
just
there's levels to the shit.
yeah, oh, there's levels to it. I was like, oh my God. I was like, this is insane. Like literally like within a week of me being there, we went and played and we got spanked. And then we went up to play Hibernian, same thing, like 7-3, like just an absolute ass kicking. But no, it was cool, man. I got to meet a lot of great people. Some of the coaches on the team were like Premier League like legends who have like over 100 goals in the Premier League. Like it was pretty sweet. Like Rob Jones was like the captain of Hibernian when they won the Scottish Prem. It was cool. It was really, and living abroad is
Wow.
awesome. Like, I'd encourage anybody to do that. But yeah, so like I guess
Yeah.
after that, I played with them for I would say 6 months, and then we had like a showcase game when like some agents came, and yeah, I got invited to York City, which is like they were at the time I think a fifth division team in England, just to go and like train with them and stuff
Mhm.
because they like I wouldn't be able to get a work visa in England. It's like nearly impossible. It's super difficult for Americans.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then Falkirk up in Scotland reached out to me, and I was like, oh, like Scotland's a little easier to get like the work visa. And I went
Mhm.
up there for like a month long trial, which was pretty sweet. Yeah, and so that's kind of how I got into the Europe scene. And then after that, I got like a lot of tape playing for
Gotcha.
Falkirk because I played a couple games with them. Yeah, it worked out, man.
Mhm.
Falkirk was an interesting one. I thought people in the U.S. were cold to trialists, but there was something different up in Scotland.
Well, all right. I'm curious to hear that story in just a second, but I want to talk about.
Yeah.
I think the more I've like played a little bit and talked to players, I think that the like going over and doing your masters in Europe is kind of like a little hack that maybe a lot of players don't know about, or even if they want to
Yeah.
do like their undergraduate degree like in Europe,
Oh
because
yeah.
as you've already mentioned a few times, like the visa thing, it's something
Oh
I
yeah.
really didn't fully comprehend, like how tough a visa is to get. If you can
Dude, it
get a
is very
visa
difficult.
through your education, and
Yeah.
then you can go out, you can trial, you can play local, you could, build your name
Exactly.
that way. It's like it's a hack that I don't think a lot of people realize. And I always think back, like if I had to do it again, like maybe I would have done it kind of in a route similar to you, like get that
Yeah.
visa sorted right away and then go figure out the football.
Yeah, no, that's the way to do it for sure. Like, because I mean, I had a visa for a year and a half in England, so I at that time, if nothing was working out, I could have just gone and played for local teams, like you're saying, talk to agents and everything. Because like you're not going to get kicked out.
Hmm.
You're a student. You're not even getting paid to play. You're literally just there for like school. And so I know a lot of my buddies actually
Yeah.
have done that in Spain. Done it in Spain and Italy. They go over and just like they're getting their masters for a year because it's a way cheaper in Europe too to get a master's and it's half the time.
Oh yeah.
And then it's just, yeah, like because a master's, an MBA here is 2 years, and over there it was like 9 months. It was like a condensed one, so it was a lot of schooling, but like still, like it's 1 year. It's not that bad. But yeah, no, that's definitely a hack that I think need like a lot of people don't know about. It's a good one to be fair.
Yeah. Because like, and I don't want to try and like hammer this too far for players that don't
Yeah.
understand, but like just try and explain for a second, like if you were a player in America that tried to go over to England to play football and get a visa,
Oh,
like
yeah.
is that even remotely possible
No,
unless you're like
unless you have like a European passport, you're not doing it. It's like extremely
yeah,
difficult. Yeah, I mean, look at like it took like that's why there's not a lot of like American players in the Prem. You have to be like top tier. Yeah, it's
yeah.
crazy. Like when I was there, I
And
don't think there was one American in like the lower leagues, unless they had like dual citizenship.
yeah, exactly. And now I think even because of Brexit, like for some Europeans, it's
It's
become
even
even
hard.
harder,
Yeah,
like if you have a dual citizenship. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. It's so hard.
So in England,
Yep.
playing some academies, and now you have this opportunity with Falkirk that you just mentioned before that you
Oh
said
yeah.
was you thought that there were cold to trialists in the States,
Oh
but
yeah.
Scotland took it to a whole new
That was
level.
next level, man. I've never experienced anything like it. So I get to Falkirk, and it's me and actually one of my buddies on my team. We both got invited, and we get to Falkirk early in the morning, like 9 o'clock. Training's at 10, whatever. And we walk in, and we could hear like the locker room. It's like a proper locker. You can hear like the music and people talking in the morning. We're talking to like the director of the club, and he's like, "Oh yeah, just go down. Like you'll talk to the captain." He didn't even say a name. He said, "Just talk to the captain. He'll get you squared away with like a locker and like jerseys and like training gear, whatever." And I'm like, "All right." Like I'm a pretty outgoing guy. Like I'm not like I've been on plenty of trials at this point. So like I walk in,
Mhm.
and I open up the door to the locker room. Everybody turns, the music goes off, and like I'm just like front and center. I'm like, "Hey, like the whatever his name was, Marty told me to talk to the captain." Not a single person came forward. They just all turned their backs towards me, turned off the music, put on their
Oh,
boots, and just walked out. And I was like, "What the hell?" I was like, "Oh my god!" I was like, "This is brutal." So I walked back out, and I'm like, "Hey, like I don't think the captain was in there. Like any chance he's like I can get like some clothes from you?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, I got you." Went, got me clothes. We go out. We're doing like passing drills. These dudes are peppering balls at us, like shin height,
oh
like just
yeah.
ripping them at us. Like, and every time it was a bad touch, they're screaming at you. And like they're Scottish. I have no idea what they were saying. Like I know they were speaking English, but it just was so hard for me to understand. I was like, oh my god. I was like, this is the worst thing ever. And my friend was from Jamaica, so he had no clue what they were saying. It was a pretty hostile environment. It was tough. But like after
What
like
would
you
you
after you
say
kind of got
to?
some script and you played a game, then they're like they kind of eased
Uh-huh.
up a bit. And then
Yeah.
like a new trialist came, and then I was finally the one like peppering balls at people. I was like, nice. Yeah, I was like, all right, like it's like a pecking order.
Yeah. What would you say to a player that like is coming into a trial like that? Because I've heard, I've been a part of trials. I don't know
Yeah,
if
yeah,
quite to that level, but I've been a part of trials that are difficult, and I've heard
for sure.
stories, nightmare stories. Like,
Oh
what would you
yeah,
say to a player that comes into a gauntlet like that, and how do you rise above that?
man. There are a couple ways you could go about it, man. Like I, I mean, I've been on, I'd say about 9 trials, and each time they're a little different. But I feel like you just have to read the situation. Like sometimes people get like
Mm,
I've been on teams when people coming on trial and just like talking right away and like trying to like really get the team going in training, like, come on boys, like it's like, all right, guy, like you're here for the first day, like you just need to like know your role.
yeah.
So I just say like take it day by day and slowly introduce yourself, like slowly get more vocal and stuff like that. But because I mean I don't know. It depends on the team too. Like up in Scotland, like they respected me after I made some like really hard tackles. Like as a striker too, like I remember like one of the first like training games I tackled the center back like extremely hard. And like after that, everybody was like, all right, like that's fair, like respect it. Like I remember like I helped him up and he like gave me a hand, like a high five, and I was like, all right, like there we go. Like that's all I needed to be done. But earning, yeah, I
Yeah,
mean
it's
it'll come, but I would just say know your role. Like don't go into like boisterous, just slowly ease in.
Yeah, yeah, it's a good point, and I think you bring up the most important point is kind of like the idea of ball doesn't lie. Like you have to you
Exactly.
have to come in and prove that you can play. Like,
Yeah,
and
for
it's
sure.
difficult because I've been a part of trials before, and I've seen it happen to players too, where it's like that first pass that you get like is
Oh yeah.
oh my god, it's the most pressure you will ever experience in your life because
No,
if
no
you if
doubt. Like the
if
first
you
like
fuck that
passing
one up,
drill.
oh man, I
Oh
don't know if
man.
you're getting the ball for a while.
Oh, it's so true. It's like I hate to say, but it's so true. Like, yeah, it's tough. I remember even my first trial, like because I went on trial at the San Diego Loyal,
Mm,
and we were doing this passing drill, and you just had to like clip in a little ball. It was like maybe like a 20-yard ball. Like, we should be able to do that like 99% of the time. And I remember it just came to me, and I just launched it. I was like, fuck. Like literally like my first pass. I was like, oh man, that's not good. Oh, it was tough. It was tough. That first pass is like you said, is just a lot of pressure.
Yeah. I was on this trial in Germany, and it was like it wasn't the beginning. Like we had done rondos and stuff, and then we were doing
Yeah,
this
yeah.
like 1v1 where you had to clip the ball across and then go out and defend. And like the first I think the first two balls I hit it like way too close to the other goal, and so the guy had to like move for it. And then one time, as he was trying to pick the ball up, he got his like foot stuck in the back of the net as he was trying to pick up the ball that I pinged to him. So he fell. All his teammates are laughing at
Yeah, of
him,
course.
and he's looking at me. He's so fucking mad because I keep putting him in the shitter with these balls that I'm playing, and I'm like, oh my
Oh,
god,
that's
this
just
is
honestly, that's
terrible.
just tactical at your spot. You're not having to defend. He's doing the defending himself. He's just falling over.
Exactly. The
That's
whole time I
awesome.
was like, nah, I'm not apologizing. This is what I meant to do.
No, yeah, you can't apologize. That's another thing I'd say is like try not to apologize. Yeah, that's hilarious though. It happens.
So yeah, it does. With Scotland, did you end up signing for them?
Yeah, so pretty brutal story. So I remember the coach didn't really like coach. It was like the assistant coaching most of the time I was there. And about a week after of being there, we had a friendly against St. Martin or St. Marion, who was like actually in the Premier League, just like a friendly,
Hmm.
nothing crazy. And we went out and we were winning 1-0 at half, and I had the assist, and I was playing pretty well. And I remember the coach was sitting up in the stands, and as I'm walking to the tunnel, he comes down, he goes, "All you have to do is score." And I was like, "Damn, like that's some pressure." I scored within like 10 minutes of coming out of the second half, and I was like, "All right, like perfect, like I'm good." And then he brought me back. He's like, "All right, I want you to come back next week." And I was like, "All right, like I'll come again," because that was the end of my trial. So he's like, "All right, come back again next week. We'll play. You go and play against Hibernian. Like they're under 23s in like a reserve league game, so like proper game." I was like, "All right." Trained well, whatever. Played against Hibernian. We're down 1-0, and 90th minute, I head it and I hit the crossbar and I miss, and we lose 1-0. And after the game, the coach came up to me and he just goes, "Hey man, like if that would have went in, it's a different story. But like I'm sorry, I have to let you go." And I was like, "Oh my god, like." That's how they're gonna let me go. And I remember like the agent who was with me at the time was just like, "Yeah, like that's just how it is, man." I was like, "Fuck," especially as a striker. Like if you don't score, like it's tough. But yeah, they had to let me go.
Wow, a
Yeah,
crossbar and no
yeah,
contract, man.
yeah. To be fair, I was playing pretty bad that game. Like if I would have headed that, I would have definitely
Oh.
saved the day. But some nerves got to me, and I just wasn't. It wasn't a good day for me, to be honest. So I
So
get
after
where the
hearing
coach.
that news, what was next?
Yeah, so like that was kind of like my last hurrah. I was like, damn, like that was the big one. If I would have signed that, would have been great. In hindsight, like it was actually good I didn't sign there because the coach got sacked like 6 months later, and they dropped down to the third tier.
Mm.
So like everything happens for a reason, man. Like especially in footy, I think the right team will find you eventually. Um, so after that, I called Rubio and I was like, yeah, like trial didn't go well. After a month of being there, like I thought I was gonna get signed. And he was like, "Hey man, like when I played in Denmark, I talked to this guy named Thomas. Like you should reach out to him." And I was just like, "All right, man. Like I'll see what's up." I didn't really think I'd like Denmark or anything. At this point, I knew all about the work visas, so I knew how difficult it was. And he told me it was easy in Denmark. So I was like, "All right, yeah, like
Mm.
might as well take a go of it." So I called Thomas, and he was great. He was like, "Yeah, I could get you some trials." Like I sent him my footage at Falkirk, who was in the championship, like proper team. And he was like, "Yeah, I got a team for you that want to take you in on trial." And I was like, "All right, perfect." Like it was just the start of their season, come the summer, and I went on trial. I was there for 3 months on trial, and they
Oh.
finally signed. I got there in July, and they signed me. I guess I was there for 2.5 months. They signed me September 13th, Friday the 13th. I'll never forget that. Yeah, yeah, but it worked out perfectly, man. T said it was a great fit for me.
A 3 month trial. Like, what were
Yeah.
you thinking in month two? Like, all right,
It
guys,
was pretty it was
what's the
pretty
deal
brutal,
here?
honestly. Like, well, what happened originally is I was there for about 2 weeks and we had a preseason game. And in the preseason game I played really well. Like played really well. We
Mhm.
lost 3-2, but I performed. And right after that, the agent Thomas, who I was working with, went in and talked to the coaches, and he came out and he was like, "They want to sign you like right now. Like you're in it. Like let's go." And I was like, "All right, like perfect. Like let's get the paperwork cooking." Like I was hyped.
Yeah.
And I just kept training, obviously, because they wanted to keep me. Had another week of great training. Like, apparently the paperwork was being processed. We had another friendly, and I just played terrible. Just played
Oh no.
terrible. And right after that, they were like, all right, let's give him a little bit more time. Let's see what he's actually going to do. So that after that, they just kept like pushing it back because they wanted to see me play more games. And we didn't have a game for like a month. And so I was like, damn, like this is taking forever. Like, and like training's different than games, you know. So I played 2 games. One was like
Yeah.
great, and one was like subpar at best. And finally, like we played another friendly, and I played well. I scored, and then they're like, all right, like we'll actually sign him. And then it just took a minute to get the paperwork rolling. Yeah, they told me they were going to sign me about 2 weeks before they actually did. So that for 2 weeks, I was so nervous. I was like, all right, I got to just keep playing well, keep playing well. Like every training, every touch, like, come on. But it worked out eventually.
Yeah. Being that it was your first contract, I think you were kind of hoping or maybe willing to put up with a little bit
Oh, yeah. Oh, for
more
sure.
than normal. I'm
Yeah.
sure at
Like,
this point in your career, like if someone's like, "Hey, we're gonna bring you on trial for 3 months," you'd be like,
oh,
"All
yeah.
right, what
No
the
way.
hell?" Like,
No way. Yeah. I said, and I remember I kept telling my dad, because my dad doesn't know anything about like the soccer industry, you know. And he was just like, yeah, just keep going,
mm,
keep going. I was like, dude, I was like, I've been here for 2 months. Like, what's happening? And like, I was getting frustrated with my agent. I was like, man, like, come on, like, do something. Like, in hindsight, I definitely should have stayed there, because if they would have released me, I would have been done for, and I would have made them go trial anywhere else, because the season was right around the corner. Like, I signed after the first
yeah.
game of the official game of the season. And so, like, yeah, it was crazy. Like, they definitely gave me the runaround. And then I could have gotten screwed. Like, I would have been done.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
you just mentioned like that's such a huge thing that could have
Yeah.
happened, and if that had turned in the opposite way, right? Like, and because the
Oh,
players
yeah.
think, oh, I'm training, they like me, like it's gonna happen, and it's hard, it's hard to
Yeah.
just say one day, hey, listen, like unless you guys are gonna sign me, I got to try and move on because
It
we're not making any progress
Exactly, because
here.
then it,
Like,
it
but
kinda,
at
like,
some point you
forces
have
them.
to.
No, exactly, yeah, no, you're totally right. I made such a terrible mistake.
Oh no.
So right after, they weren't starting preseason until July, like, 23rd, and I got out of school at, like, April. So one of my buddies lives in Spain, and he plays over there, and so he was like, "Yo, just come live with me for a month, 2 months, and then you could just go on trial. Like, we could just play, like, street soccer."
Mm,
I'm like, all right, yeah, it sounds good. I don't want to go all the way back home and then, come back to Europe. I was like, might as well just stay over here. So I went and I moved in with him and my other buddy. And literally every day in Barcelona, we just go and play like street futsal. It was awesome. Like, best experience of my life. So fun. Great level, honestly. Like, it was pretty sweet to see like guys would roll up in like AF1s and ripped jeans and like just ball out. I'm like, dude, who are these guys? Like, just disgusting feet. And I was like, all right, like it was a sweet level, got like in shape, ran on the beach a lot. And I didn't think anything of it. Like, I was like, oh, I have a work visa or I have a school
mm.
visa in England. I'm fine. Like, I could travel around all I want.
Oh no.
And so then I went to Denmark and I was on trial for 3 months, and you get 90 days visiting.
Yeah.
And so I spent all 90 days in Denmark, and I signed on like my 89th day or something. And so then when they were doing my paperwork, like 2 weeks later, I was like, yo, like, shouldn't I be able to play? Because I can't play unless like I have my
Mm.
paperwork. And I was like, yeah, like, like it's 2 weeks in and 3 weeks into the season, like I'm trying to play. And they're like, yeah, there was some issue at like, Siri, like their local government. And I was like, really? Like, what is it? And about a month goes by and I still haven't gotten it. Like, sometimes it takes a while for foreigners, whatever. And I was like, all right, like it's like the end of September. It's like early October. And my my director of the club calls me and he's like, hey Chase, you need to come in like urgent. I was like, all right. I came in and he's like, so did you do any other traveling like before you came to Denmark? And I was like, no. I was like, well, I lived in Spain. And he was like, oh, he's like, you overstayed your 90 days. And I was like, what do you mean? He goes, oh, well, like you were in Spain for like 36 days and then you came here and spent 90 days. He's like, you're over your like legal limit. Like, you're going to get deported. And I was like, what? I was like, how am I going to get deported? Like, I was like, I had no idea. And he's like, yeah, like, sorry. And so I had to go to the government and like work it all out. So my paperwork literally should have taken only 2 weeks, ended up taking like 2.5 months. So I signed September 13th. I wasn't cleared to play until November like 9th. Our season ended November 14th, like for the first half of the season.
Oh my God.
And so like I literally got to play in like 2 games and I came off the bench at like 80th minute. So I was like, great, like first half of the season done. Because in Denmark, they play the split
Yeah.
season. It's just so cold. Like they have to stop playing outside. So I was like, damn. I was like, well, that was brutal. I was like, I didn't play. Like all I was doing was training. I couldn't even play with the reserve team. And so I was like, all right, whatever. Rocky start to the first pro contract. But yeah, at least I didn't get deported. That was huge.
Yeah. Did you, because I came across this article and I can't remember. I don't know if you have knowledge of this, that do you have to find work as well? Like work outside of
Yeah.
soccer
Okay.
for yourself?
Yeah. So when I first got there, I needed like a work
Mm-hmm.
visa, and the club didn't have enough money to pay for me because like Americans, you have to make a certain
Yeah.
amount. And so they wanted to sign me, but they just didn't have it in the budget then. And basically they put in the newspaper and it was like, American looking to stay for like Teestead. And Teestead's a small city. It's
Yeah.
like 5,000 people. And some sponsor came forward and was like, yeah, like he could work at my place for like whatever, 10, 15 hours a week. And I was like, all right, yeah, that's fine with me. Like I had no problem with it because like I kind of like doing something anyway because you're only practicing for, 3 hours a day and working out. So maybe like not even half the day is like up in the air. So I was like, all right, like, and I didn't have school or anything. So I was kind of bored if I didn't do it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I met the sponsor and it actually turned out to be my host dad. And like I ended up, basically living with him and his family. And to this day, I still talk to him like seriously, like every other day. It worked out like perfectly. They have two twin 17-year-old boys at the time who just loved
Mm.
like football. And so like I got along with them great. It was like having little brothers around. It was really cool. It was a special bond. I'll never forget.
That's awesome.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
because
I had
I
to have
came
work for
across
the first like 3 months.
I came across this article that's
Yeah.
basically the title of it was, American looking for work because you had some players. It said that at the time you had some players that were injured, so like you didn't want to have them lose you as well because there was threat of you being
Yeah.
deported. So I pulled this
Yeah.
sentence
Yeah.
from it that was like,
Seriously.
Carl Christian Goldhammer
Yeah.
describes Chase Andrew Boone as a typical American who is nice, sociable,
Yeah. Okay.
social,
This is a hilarious
hardworking with
story.
great
This is
energy.
hilarious.
He's open to any and all work that's
Yeah.
like 20 to 25 hours or whatever. And I was like, what in the
Yeah.
world?
Dude, it was so funny. So like I went into like the board meeting because they wanted to talk to me about like the
Mm,
situation. And they were like, and they told me about that exact article, and they're like, oh yeah, like we said you're a typical American, and I started laughing. I was like, guys, I was like, that's not a
yeah,
good
that's not
thing.
good.
I was like, I don't want to be a typical American. And they're like, no, 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 Chase, trust me, typical American here is good. I was like, no way could it be good. I thought it was so funny though.
It's
But
have you
yeah,
have
it was
you
super
started to
funny.
notice that? Because I always found it fascinating being in Europe, talking to certain people. The moment you say American,
Yeah.
like sometimes people's
Oh,
whole perception of you changes like that.
instantly, dude, instantly. In Denmark, to be fair though, like they respect like America a lot. And to be fair, like when you're in America or in Denmark and you say you're American, it's good.
Yeah.
But in Germany, when I was in Germany, I'd
Yes.
say I'm American. They're like, yeah, they're like, all right, buddy. Like, yeah, I don't speak English. Move on.
Yeah, because Germany's
Yeah.
like different. Germany's a bit more of a cold kind of
Oh
like
yeah,
hard. I don't
big
want to
time.
speak ill upon Germany. I love Germany, but I always found that funny if you would say I'm American. Like a lot of people would just kind of laugh at
Yeah,
first because also at the time when I
for
was there,
sure.
it
They
was
kind of
like when
like
Trump
juggle
was
it.
still our president, so they would always be like, "Ah, what's going on with you guys?"
Yeah, dude, that I got called Trump. Like that was like my nickname on the team because that's like during that time I was playing. That's all they'd say. I was like, oh my God. And they're just like, oh, how can you like living in America with all these like all this stuff going on? People like invading the Capitol. Like, what kind of society is over there? Like, I don't want to go visit there. I'm like, oh man. Like, I was like, I promise it's beautiful. You'd love it. They're like, no, no, no.
No.
Yeah, it was pretty funny though, man. It was a good time.
So, what work did you actually wind up doing for your host family?
Yeah, so I basically was a business developer for my host dad, Barrett. He has his own fish like exporting and importing business. So basically, I was just like making calls and trying to like get business from the U.S. because he saw I was American. So he's like,
Mm,
all right, yeah, like reach out to U.S. companies and see if they wanted to like import any like Danish fish because we're right on the water there and there's huge fish exports like massive
yeah,
in Denmark. So that was basically me is just like calling around like trying to find like new opportunities for him. And it was cool.
not
Like I
bad
had
at
an
all.
office.
Because
I
did
got to go
you?
in every day for a couple days, like a couple hours. We'd go get lunch together. It
Yeah.
was sweet. I had a great time.
Because you studied business as well, right? That was your
Yeah,
program?
yeah, yeah. And I literally was like fresh out of my master's, and so it was perfect, man. It was a really cool opportunity.
Wow. So you spoke
Yeah.
about it a little bit before, but that having like a family around with you, having a job as well to
Oh
go
man.
to, having training, like, because I've spoken
Yeah.
personal experience of myself going over to Europe. I've spoken to other players as well, where like sometimes you don't always get that. Sometimes it's like you're in a
You're just on your
hotel
own.
room in Ukraine for 6 months and like you're by
Yeah.
yourself. Like, how much was that a
No,
help for you?
oh man, it helped. I mean, for the first 3 months while I was on trial, I was completely by myself. I was up in a small. I had like basically an Airbnb, and I lived
Mm.
above like this older elderly couple, and I didn't have a kitchen. I didn't have anything. Like it was tough. Like I literally was in the Harry Potter closet for 3 months. And my agent who at the time lived like an hour and a half away, and I didn't have a car, so I didn't see him. The town was tiny. Like the
Mm,
only thing in it for entertainment was a movie theater. And, like it was so small, like maybe a grocery store, very, very tiny.
mm.
So it's a mental battle, to be completely honest. Like it's tough. It's tough living on your own. And I think a lot of the time players are like, oh, I'll do anything to play. But then you get in that situation, you're like, holy crap, like you have no social life. Your parents are sleeping because it's 9 hours time change. Like you can't talk to any of your normal friends. Like it can
Yep.
be tough for sure. Um, but I mean, yeah, I mean, because you're only playing for, max 4 hours a day, like max. And that's like being generous. Like training's an hour and a half, 2 hours, and then you're in the gym for what, an hour, 2 hours? Like it's a lot of time on your own and like being by yourself. But yeah, so then after that, when I signed and I started working for Barrett, I would be able to go over to his house and just like hang out, and even just sitting in the house with like things going around and like a TV on helps so much, like for my mental state. Like it's crazy. I've never appreciated like a house and like a cozy home more than that in that time. And like I couldn't have been more thankful. Like they're the best family I could have like lived with and been a part of.
Yeah. I think it's always interesting to me, like how, there's definitely certain football moments that you can attribute to, like, all right, that specific thing helped me, get to my next contract, next level, whatever it is. But I think in
Yeah,
some ways, maybe for you, it's like having that, that being able to go into a family, having a little bit more of structure to your day with a job, like that might have
for
been kind of
sure.
a secret ingredient that prolonged your time over in Denmark.
Oh, most definitely. Like, yeah, it definitely helped a lot. And then like a couple other Americans came, and then like to this day, I'm still really good friends with them. Like they all
Mm.
play in the USL now too, which is kind of funny. But yeah, we were all like we just connected. Obviously, being the three Americans, and yeah, I mean between that and having Barrett and his family, it's a blessing for sure.
Yeah. Especially because in me doing some research a little bit, it seems as if obviously we've already spoke about part of your time in Denmark, but
Hmm.
it wasn't always the easiest go for you and over your 2 seasons in Denmark, right?
No, definitely not. So yeah, I guess I'll get into that now. So I came back after my work visa back to Oregon. So I was here for 2 3 months. Nah, 2 months. I went
Mm,
back at the end of January, and went back and I was playing really well. Like worked really hard in the offseason. I was like, I want to come for a starting spot, and busted my ass. Like played really well in preseason. Was playing, scoring goals. Like starting with like the team because we played 4-4-2. I was kind of like the false nine,
hmm.
and a week before we went to Turkey. Every year they go to Turkey for preseason. And a week before we went to Turkey, and then the week right after we get back was our first match. I remember it was a
Okay.
training, and I blew out my knee. Like at the very like end of training, I blew out my knee. I was pinning the
Oh,
center back, and I took a touch with my left foot to go like shoot, like just like a quick turn shot. And when I planted, he stepped on top of my foot, and so when my body rotated, my lower leg didn't rotate at all. So
oof.
my knee just like twisted. And basically what happened was my patellar tendon, like the huge tendon on the front of your leg just ripped in half, ripped off my patella. So my kneecap was basically up on my thigh. And
Oh,
there was just this huge gap, like I had a hole in my knee basically. And yeah, it was pretty excruciating.
oh
To
my
say the least.
God.
Like I was on the floor, like I thought I broke my leg because it sounded like a piece of
Yeah.
plywood snapping. Like I honestly thought I broke my leg. I was like, oh damn, like my leg just snapped. And I don't know. My connection's being weird again. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Okay, cool. We'll just keep going until it disconnects. So yeah, I'm like laying there, like excruciating pain. Like it hurt so bad I couldn't even cry. And I was just like, I
Mm.
just could just like scream. So I was just like screaming for like a minute straight. And I was just laying there. My coach came over and he's like, it's okay. I was like, does it look normal? He goes, yeah, it looks normal, except I just don't know where your knee is. I was like, what? I was like kind of made me laugh at the time. I was like, dude, what? Like, why is the worst thing you could say to me? And so the ambulance comes on the field like 20 minutes later and like shoots me up full of morphine because it was just like they had to. And they took me straight to the hospital. And within like 8 hours, I had surgery. Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah, because I pulled up the picture here and that you
Yeah.
have that you put up. I think maybe after. Yeah, it looks like after the surgery. Like
Yeah, yeah. The shark
I know
bite?
people have had. Yeah, the shark bite, the first shark bite ever
Yeah.
recorded in Denmark. Like people have had some knee injuries before, I'm sure, but like I'll see if we can maybe for the people who watch this on video, if we can put it up. Like I don't think I've ever seen a scar like this. Like how many freaking staples are in your knee?
Dude,
Like the injury was you basically ripped your patellar tendon off
tendon.
of the bone. So like
Yeah, my kneecap was just basically floating and like it ripped up onto my quad and like ripped the quad off my bone. Kind of brutal.
yeah, yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah.
Especially as you mentioned before, when your doctor says he's only seen it, you know,
Yeah.
can count
That's
on
what
one
like shocked
hand
me
in
the
his
most.
35-year career how many times he's seen it.
Yeah. Like he's seen like patellar ruptures, but like never off like the kneecap itself, which is like super strange, but I guess it happens, man.
And so when did that
But
first surgery happen?
oh, February 10th. Yeah, February 10th was the first like that was the day I ruptured it that night, and
Hmm.
the like middle of the night I got surgery, or like 6 a.m. I got surgery. Yeah. Yeah, because they as like they were telling me like as the longer you sit there with it ruptured, the shorter the tendon gets.
Yeah,
And like the shorter the tendon gets, obviously it's gonna be like way harder to like actually pull, and they might have to use like a cadaver like tendon. So they were like, yeah, we're gonna rush you and get you in immediately. So I was like,
yeah.
all right, that's fair.
And then when was the second surgery?
3.5 months later, I got the wire taken out. So I was in a straight leg brace for 3 months. I couldn't bend my leg for 3.5 months.
Oh
So I
my
didn't even
God.
start rehab until like 3 months later.
So 6 months out from the initial injury is when you first get to actually try some rehab exercises.
It was about um no, it was like so after my I got hurt February 10th, got surgery February 10th, and then I didn't start rehab until July of that July.
Okay. And
Yeah, July.
and that first
June.
was it the first doctor that told you, "Hey, like there's a chance you might not be able
Yeah.
to play after this?"
Yeah. He said it's gonna be really difficult. Just because the rehab, man, the rehab was crazy. Like I wish I'll send you some videos, man. I could barely walk. Like I couldn't even bend my leg. And my leg was a twig. It was a
I'm
twig.
sure you lost so much freaking muscle, like
Oh,
having
with
not
it
been able
like
to bend it.
yeah, so I had surgery on February 10th and I got my covering taken off and everything initially 2 weeks later. And I didn't cry like when I told my parents I did it, like or my brother. I didn't cry really. Like I was like, I'll be back. Like I'm not really like that concerned. Like I was sad, obviously, but I didn't cry. But when the doctor took off my like wrapping and I saw like the stitching that you saw,
Mm.
I just like lost it. I couldn't even like control. I was just bawling. I was like, oh my god, like I didn't even like so much emotion just came over me because it looked so bad, and my leg was so skinny already after 2 weeks. So I was like, wow, man, like this is like. Then I realized it was gonna be really difficult. I was like, damn,
So
tough.
was that the emotion kind of like looking at that leg and thinking like how
Yeah,
is there a way for me to get back to the player that I
literally,
was,
yeah, like
even like just the person athlete that I was?
yeah, and like honestly, I was just like, damn, like my whole life could change if this does like if I like can't really walk normally.
Yeah.
Because like I'm like an outdoorsy guy. Like I'm very active. So like yeah, I knew it was gonna be a long road.
And did you do most of your rehab and recovery then in Denmark while you were still with the team or
No, because COVID hit.
okay.
So I got injured February 10th. COVID in Denmark hit like March 1st. Like, and they
Yeah.
shut everything down over there. So my dad actually flew out to Denmark to like help take care of me because I was living on my own. And there was like no, I couldn't walk. I was bedridden basically. Man, that's some of the funniest stories like I have, I think, are from that like week and a half my dad came to live with me. Like, because the doctors gave me the wrong pain medicine.
Uh-huh.
So I had zero pain medicine. It wasn't working for me. About one in every like 10 people who like this like medicine is supposed to help doesn't affect.
Okay.
And I was one of those 10. So it was killing me. My knee hurt 24/7, the whole 9 yards. Like every day it hurt all day. And I was like, Dad, like I need to like do something. Like I can't take it. I can't take it. So I
Uh-huh.
kid you not, the first day my dad and I probably got an hour and a half of sleep. By the third night of barely getting any sleep, we were just delusional. Like our conversation was like hilariously like it seemed like we were just like hammered. Like we were so
Yeah,
delusional
just
that
an
we were talking about made
excruciating
no
pain.
sense. And we oh dude, it was so funny. We were just having like one of the like this it was like the best of the situation for sure. Like we were making jokes, but it was bad, man. It was a tough. And then finally, I called the doctor and I was like, "Hey, like these pain meds can't be working for me." He's like, "Oh, just up the dosage, whatever. Take like 8 pills a day." And I was like, "All right." Took 8 pills, nothing. Like Advil was helping me more than these things. And then finally, on the 10th day, he gave me morphine, and that was like, "All right, perfect. Little dose of morphine will help me." But yeah, it was a long. That first 10 days was rough. It definitely took years off my life.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah, it was a rocky road. And then so COVID was like happening and my dad's like, "All right, like let's just take you back to the US." And I was
Mm,
like, "How am I supposed to fly with this thing?" I was like, "I can't fly with my leg. Like I couldn't bend my leg. Like I couldn't even
yeah.
walk." He's like, "Well, we got to get you back somehow or else you're going to be stuck here." And I was like, "Fuck." I was like, "All right, like let's do it." So we took our 14-hour flight and originally we're like, all right, like we have to get the front seat and like that way I'll be able to like sit like I couldn't sit in a chair like straight. And so I was like, maybe I could like stack some like books or like luggage and I could have my legs straight on
Yeah.
the chair. And he's like, oh yeah, that we'll figure something out. So we get the bulkhead, like the very front. And I sit down or I try to sit down, but my legs are too long. Like I have long legs, like I'm pretty tall. So my leg was like stuck to the front of the plane, like the door almost, like the very front of the bulkhead. And I was like, Dad, there's no shot I sit like this. Like my leg is like so uncomfortable, like it hurts. He goes, all right, like let's see if we can go to the back of the plane. And so I was like, all right, like let's do that, whatever. We asked the stewardess, like, hey, is anybody willing to like give us up a row and like we'll give you guys like these front seats. And like the front 10 seat, we're in like business class. Like it was super nice,
Mm.
calm. So my dad and I like make our way to the back. We open up the gates and it's like a movie. It was like things were flying, kids were crying. Like it was seriously like a joke. It was so funny. And my dad, I'll never forget, just goes, "Oh, you gotta be shitting me." And we just like both lost it. Like at this point, like obviously it wasn't gonna be a smooth ride. So my dad and I were laughing. We make it to like the very back of the plane, right by the toilets, of course. And so like I'm having to sit like diagonal, like across all the seats with my leg to have it like supported. So my back is on the armchair. So for 14 hours I couldn't like sit. I like just had an armchair in my back. It was so brutal. It was one of the worst flights of my life. And like I couldn't watch like movies because like it was so uncomfortable to like turn right. It was so funny. My dad and I were just like it's still so tired, so we thought everything was just like comical. But it was a good trip back. Glad I made it home.
I mean, at that point, yeah, like you said, it's almost as if it's out of a movie, like everything is just hilarious at this point, and it's like one of those things that you'll talk about for years to come. Like, how in the hell did we get home on that 14-hour flight and like still standing here today?
Half the flight I was standing up like in the back because it was just so uncomfortable. I was just talking to the stewardess.
Yeah,
I was like, I'm sorry, like I just have to be back here. Like I didn't sleep. It was brutal. 14 hours, terrible.
not something you'd sign up
Uh,
for again. I can definitely assume.
hell no. Hell no. I was cleaning out my closet the other day and I saw my brace and I was like, fuck, PTSD. Like it was so
I gotta
bad.
burn this.
Yeah, I was like, I'm never gonna touch this thing again. It's bad omen.
So you get home and
Yeah.
are you kind of let me get into PT? Like where's your head at?
Yeah, so I was trying to do as much as I could. So basically, like, the only PT I could do was like calf raises.
Hmm.
Like I couldn't walk, so like I literally was bedridden for 3 months. But like luckily, I guess not like obviously not luckily, but like if there was a time to get injured, that was kind of it because COVID hit
Yeah,
and everything shut down. Everybody wasn't playing for that first 3 months.
100%.
So like in my mind, I was like, all right, like I'm not missing anything. Like no one's playing. Like they're in the same boat as me.
Yeah.
And so that helped a little bit, but like obviously I wish that wasn't going on. But if there was a time to get injured, that was it for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I kind of felt the same way. Like when I spoke to you a little bit before we hopped on about my contract in Germany. And at first, when I wasn't able to
Yeah,
go, I was like, oh my God, like everyone's playing. Like, what am I supposed to do? And then, like, obviously, you would never want to have a pandemic happen, but it was almost like, okay,
of course, yeah.
at least everyone is in the same boat. You know what I mean? Like, at least I'm not the only
No,
ones
totally,
experiencing this.
exactly, yeah. No matter the circumstances, like all right, like no one's playing. Like you can't do anything about it.
So when were you able to kick a ball again?
With my left foot, I mean, I was kicking the ball with my right foot from get
Yeah.
go. Like my dad was like, I was sitting on the couch. My dad was like tossing me the ball, like just touching it, because like I was like a dog. I just like wanted to do something.
Yeah.
I felt like I'm playing fetch. But the first time I was able to do it with my left was probably like 7 or 8 months after my surgery,
Okay.
like my original surgery, and then like maybe 4 months after my second surgery. Yeah,
That first time when you even just play a pass with your left or ping it or take a shot, like
yeah.
are you just so ecstatic to be able to do it, or are you like, oh my God, like I can't even hit it nearly as hard as I did like before? Like,
Oh yeah, no. I was just happy,
mm,
honestly. I was like, it'll come back. Like it was like an emotional thing for me for sure. I think my first like actual like steps without like looking weird or like Frankenstein was even more emotional
yeah,
because I couldn't walk like even after my second surgery I couldn't walk normal for like not kidding you like 9 months and like not forget about running I couldn't even walk.
yeah.
Like I'll have to send you some videos. You won't believe it. It's pretty funny.
I think honestly, like that just goes to show the mental toughness that you have to get like to go from a point where you are not able to walk to then like, fast forward to now and you're playing
Yeah,
in teams with guys who have been in the MLS or had super successful
yeah.
USL careers, played all overseas, like you know what I mean? To have that, like if
I
someone was
appreciate
able
that,
to
man. Yeah.
rewind it and see you like just struggling to walk from your bed to the
Oh
bathroom,
yeah,
and now it's like he just signs and he's playing under
yeah,
Landon Donovan. It's like what in the world?
yeah. I've gotten pretty lucky with that, and I've had a great emotional support team. You know, my brothers and my friends, and my dad and grandma. They're always there right for me. And anytime I was feeling like this is kind of it, like I'm not gonna play again, like someone was there to be like, no, you're gonna play. Like don't worry, like let's go do something like to help you. Like come on. So like I
Mhm.
think every day I was doing something for my knee, whether it be like stem or walk, even just going on a simple walk. Like my grandma and I got really close over quarantine because my grandma would come over and my dad was like working whatever. So my grandma and I had a little routine. It was pretty cool. We'd wake up, have breakfast, watch Prices Right, and then go for a walk because we were about the same pace on the walk. So it was perfect. Yeah,
And that's another thing that I
yeah, it
think
was
was,
cool.
again, cool, I guess, about quarantine was like everyone kind of had these, a lot of people had
Yeah,
difficult times, but there's always those stories that you hear like, yeah, I got super close to my family. Like we did this, like, all these
yeah,
people are like baking bread and doing all these weird things that they never would have expected. Like you guys
right.
would
Yeah. Oh
watch
yeah, I
Prices
was
Right
doing
and go
that
for
too.
walks with Grams. Like I can't beat that.
It was perfect. Yeah, and it's like during the summer, Oregon summers are great. So I was like, you know what, like things could be worse. Like that's always kind of been my outlook. Is like it could always be worse, right? Someone else always got a little worse.
100%. 100%. So then
Yeah.
once you're kind of back and playing again and starting to feel healthy, is it back on the grind for let's try and find
Yeah. So
trials?
yeah. So basically, well, I was on contract for T-Stud for 2 years,
Hmm.
and so after that first half of the year, I blew out my knee, came all the way back, and then I went back to Teestead in, I want to say August. So I was there for that whole second half of the season. I was doing rehab there, like finishing my rehab, because I want to be with the team coaches and everything. I had to like pass the test to play again, whatever. I didn't end up passing the test until like end of March, early April
Okay.
of the following year.
Yeah.
So I finally passed all the tests, whatever. I went back for preseason. They were already playing games, and yeah, I started playing games actually, and I was playing really well. Like I was playing in the reserve league because they wanted me to get like my shape back because I, well, I'd like walk down the stairs, I'd be exhausted. Had to get my stamina back up. So I started playing with the reserve league, and I played about 7 games with them. I played really well. I was playing number 10, and for some reason, I don't know what it was, but the coaching staff was just like the head coach wasn't about me playing for the first team,
Hmm.
and there was about like 10 games left, and we were making like a playoff or a promotion push. So like I understood like he didn't want to make changes to the lineup or like whatever, but like even just sitting on the bench or like getting 10 minutes here, like what's that gonna do? Like I busted my ass to get back to here to help you
Yeah.
guys, and like I'm not getting rewarded, like nothing, no credit, nothing. I was like, all right. So he didn't put me on the bench the rest of the time I was there, even though like guys on the team were asking me, like the captain was asking why I wasn't playing, like the assistant coach said I should be playing. So it was just tough. It was a tough situation. Like I remember after that I was like, all right, like I really got to find a team where I'm going to play and like have a big fu to them. Like they were saying I wasn't good enough to play in like the third tier in Denmark. I was like, all right, like I'll show them. And then that, like after that season, I was like, damn, like now I have nowhere to play. Like my agent in Denmark was like, well, like you're not playing in like the third tier there. Like we're gonna have to drop you. And I was like, no, I was like, I could play. Like I'm back. I'm like my knee's fine. Like help me. And yeah, he couldn't find anything for me in Denmark. No one would bring me in on trials. So I was like, all right, I'm going back to the U.S. Like I was like maybe the USL something. And I was home for about a month, and I was like stressing. Obviously, I was stressing to find a team. And Rubio again came to the rescue and was like, "Hey man, like, because Rubio played in the Loyal,
Yeah.
he goes, hey, I know the Loyal coaches. I could shoot him a text if you want." And I was like, "Yeah, like let's do it." And like they're like a good USL team, so I was like, "Hell yeah!" And it's in San Diego, like
Yeah.
bonus. And it's Landon Donovan, like come on
I
now,
know.
like it's perfect. So I was like, "Yeah," I was like, "Come on, help me out." And yeah, he helped me out, and they had me within like maybe 3 days of him messaging them. They had me down for trial, and then about 5 days later, they wanted to sign me.
Wow.
So yeah, it was pretty quick turnaround. I was pretty blessed.
Yeah, man. I mean, again, like to kind of like summarize it, to go from, not being able to walk, you go back to Denmark to play your
Yeah,
ass off to try and play third division, and then, you come home, you're on a 5-day trial, and now you're playing in
yeah.
beautiful San Diego at the USL championship
Oh yeah,
level under an absolute legend of Landon Donovan.
legend.
Like,
Oh yeah,
wow.
it was pretty surreal. It was pretty surreal, honestly. And like looking back on it, I'm very thankful for everything that happened. Because if the coach would have played me in Denmark, I would never have been here.
Yeah.
So it's kind of sweet. And I was in Europe for 3 years, so it feels so nice to be like home in the U.S. Like I forget the little things about being able to go to the store at 9 o'clock at night and get whatever I want from Walmart or Fred Meyer or
Yeah.
Target. Over there closes like at 5, and then you're screwed for the next day. And if that's the case, you might have to order like I remember in Denmark, I was trying to find a fan. Like I like white noise when I sleep, and it was the winter when I first got there, like fall. Could not find a fan like anywhere. They don't have them in stock. Like, and I had to order one. I was like, this is crazy. And Amazon doesn't ship there.
Yeah.
So I had to use some like bootleg Amazon website, and it took like 3 weeks to get here. I was like, oh my God, what is happening? It's like, where am I? So you forget the little subtleties that the US has that, yeah, are great, that we take for granted, I think, a lot of the time. So definitely happy to be
Yeah.
back in the US for time.
Yeah, I always think about that too, and other players that I've talked to that have gone over to Europe, like you just take little things for granted, like if somebody like in
Oh,
that
yeah.
target comes and asks you a question, like knowing what they're saying because it's in English, like it's huge, man.
Oh,
Like,
dude. Yeah. Yeah. And try not to like sign and like do like weird communication. Yeah, I feel you.
yeah. So that trial then in San Diego obviously went super
Yeah.
well, and much quicker and different experience
Yeah.
this time, which is a quick 5-day trial, and then boom, you're signing a contract, right?
Yeah, it worked out perfectly, man. It was a fun trial. I mean, I got along with the guys great, like immediately. Like seriously, like right off the bat, I was friends with the team, and everybody on the team is great. Super, hospitable, friendly. Like played super hard. Team's amazing. Like talent wise, unbelievable talent
Mm,
on that team. But yeah, and I played my trial. Luckily, I came at the right time. I got to play a trial game, which mid-season's like tough to
yeah.
do. We played the Cholos, and it was a sold out game. I've never been more nervous for a game in my life. That was the biggest crowd I've ever played in front
Oh
of.
my gosh.
And I had played a whole half. It was sweet. And I was playing right alongside Sal Zizzo, who was like my idol because he played for Portland growing up. And I was
Legend,
like,
yeah.
wow, this is so real. And I told him, I was like, I used to have like a Sal Zizzo jersey. And like even to this day, like I have a Sal Zizzo like cutout mask in my room. And I told him about it, and he's like got a good laugh at it. Pretty funny. But yeah, it seemed like everything was lined up.
Yeah, man. And I have to ask, like playing for Landon,
Yeah,
just like
yeah.
put it into words. Like, is there something that you've picked up from him that like he's shown you, or just I don't know, summarize the experience for.
He he's different class, man. Like even when he straps on the boots to play, he's worldy. He's really good.
Yeah, I'm sure you
Like
don't
any
lose it.
finishing drill, oh any no, like it's incredible. Like we were playing like a small sided game one time, like 4-on-4, and we needed a neutral, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I'll play." And like he always was wearing his boots, and he ties them up, does like 3 leg kicks, like leg swings. He's like, "Yeah, I'm good." I was like, "What?" It's like I was like, "I need to warm up more than that. I'm 26." He comes in and is just threading the needle, just boom, 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 like 1-2 touch, like unbelievable, like easily like the best player on the day. It was hilarious. I was like, and this is why he played in the Prem and is the MVP award like named after him. I was like, this is awesome. And I think some of the times like you forget just like because you're around him every day, you're talking to him every day, just his caliber and like his presence in the like U.S. especially for U.S. soccer
Yeah.
is just so immense that it's just like it was super cool to see. Like we'd go on away trips and like everybody's there to like see Landon, like get his autograph, get pictures with him. Like it's super cool.
Yeah.
It was super
How
super
how
cool.
quickly did you have to kind of switch over from like meeting him and being like, "Oh my God, that's Landon," to like, "I need to impress
Yeah.
this guy and play for him. Like, I need to have him respect me."
Oh yeah. I mean it was yeah it was. I mean I remember we were playing. It's actually pretty funny. Like this is a good story. My very first day, we didn't even touch the ball. It was like midweek. Like so they were just like playing beach volleyball. It was like a fun day. So it was like beach volleyball. We're playing beach volleyball, and my team made it to the final, and his team made it to the
Mm.
final. And I remember I jumped up and I spiked the ball, and it hit him like in the head, and he like fell over, and I was like, "Oh no! Like what the fuck did I just do?" And like some of the guys on the team like we're making a joke. They're like, "All right, Chase, like pack up your stuff. Like you're already cut. Like get out of here." And I was like, "Oh man!" But LD got up. He's like, "Good hit. Like I like the intensity. Like come on." I was like, "All right, like there we go." Like instant. Like I knew he was like a competitor, and I'm a competitor. So I think we got along great from that standpoint. Like we both just wanted to win, and just he was always a role model for me growing up. Like who like anybody who plays soccer in the U.S. like knows Landon and like looks up to him.
Yeah.
So it was really cool to learn from because every day we'd stay and like he'd work with the strikers, and it was really cool, man. Just like the tips and tricks he'd give you on a daily basis. It's pretty sweet. Like I'll cherish that forever.
Yeah, man, that has to be amazing to get that type of even individualized coaching like that after a session too.
Oh man, yeah. It was really special, honestly. It was really cool experience.
Obviously, you don't have to give, too much away about the future because
Mhm. Yeah.
I know that's you're probably talking with agents, talking with teams, trying to figure
Mhm.
out exactly like what the
Yeah,
next
yeah.
move is. But
Definitely.
having coming off your first season in this back in the States and playing the
Mhm.
USL Championship for a great club, as you mentioned, like, is this kind of where you're looking to build a little bit more, or
Yeah,
is Europe still in the
yeah,
cards
I
for you
think
at
I'd
some
love I'd
point?
love to
Like,
stay in the US.
maybe
I'd
walk
love
us
to
through
stay.
now, wrapping up that part of the season.
Yeah, and now that the season's coming to an end, kind of waiting for playoffs to finish out and see, what teams are looking for what kind of players. And I think I'd love to stay in the USL and really get a really good start from the fresh. Like, I haven't really been at a team where I've been from preseason on. I've either gotten hurt or my paperwork didn't go through or I came mid-season. So I'm
Mm.
really looking for like that first proper like preseason where I could earn a starting spot and earn some playing time like right off the bat. So yeah, I'm looking for a team in the USL for sure.
That's awesome, man. And, again, congratulations on a first season. I'm sure,
Yeah, I appreciate it.
again, like we mentioned, playing in that beautiful place, playing after everything that you've been through to get to there.
Yeah.
I'm sure it has to have been surreal for you, and hopefully we can continue into the next USL season with some similar luck, whether it's in San Diego or whether it's elsewhere, or who
We'll
knows.
see. We'll see. I appreciate it though. No, I really do. I had a great time talking to you, and it was awesome, man. I'm trying to stay in the U.S. for the time being, for sure. Eventually, I'd love to get back to Europe. But yeah, I think being home it's great. All my brothers came and watched me play my first professional game. Like they never saw me play one in Europe, so that was really special to me. So to do that, especially I have four little nephews right now, and they're all growing up, and they're starting to watch me play, and they're playing soccer. Like I would love for them to at
That's
least
awesome.
watch me play for at least a season in the U.S.
Yeah, yeah. I have to imagine the family part of that again is so huge.
Yeah.
To be able to have them come out and see you is amazing.
Yeah, no, it worked out perfectly. My first start for the Loyal was actually up in Tacoma. And so that's only like a
Oh,
2.5 hour drive. So my entire family came out to see me play. That was the first time any of them have seen me play a professional game. My dad,
mhm.
everybody, my grandma. It was really cool.
Man, I'm sure that must have been a
It
surreal
was it
experience for
was
you. And
yeah, it was pretty sweet. It was really special to me, for sure.
well, thank you so much for
Yeah,
taking some time out of your day to
of
pop
course,
on,
man.
and I
Anytime. I
appreciate you
appreciate
sticking
it.
with it. I hope whether it's with the Loyal, whether it's with somewhere else in the States, who knows, in the world of football, that's always a bit crazy, but
Yeah,
I'm sure you'll find a landing spot sometime soon.
I appreciate it, man. I'll definitely be in touch. All the
Yeah,
best to you too,
awesome.
man. If you start playing,
Yeah, I
you gotta
appreciate
get
it.
back
Thanks so
into
much
it.
again. I
You
do.
gotta,
I really
you gotta
do.
get back into it.
All right, I appreciate it, Chase. I'll
Of
talk to you
course,
soon,
man.
buddy.
Sounds good, brother. All right, I'll talk to
Later.
you soon. See you, man.
Thank you again to Chase for stepping into the 11 this week. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys can take some value from it. He's got some crazy stories, from that injury in Denmark to, now he's playing under Landon Donovan. It's a story that you probably couldn't even script. So hopefully you guys gained some value from it and enjoyed it. As I mentioned at the top, now would be that perfect time to go ahead and click the link in the description down below to become a patron of the Indie 11 podcast. So go ahead, go do it right now, because we're wrapping up here. So now's the perfect time. With that being said, thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for continuing to follow along with these episodes and this content. I greatly appreciate everything that you guys have done to help me and allow me to do something like this. So thank you, and I will check you on the next one.